Well, high drama in Misano. Welcome to After the Flag. We're going to pick the bones out of an incredibly dramatic San Marino Grand Prix, which had big implications for the World Championship. I'm Lewis Suddaby. Alongside me, as always, is Simon Crafar to give his expert analysis on what we just saw over 27 gripping laps. Certainly the first half of it. We saw our first flag-to-flag race since Motegi last year. That one was won by Jorge Martin. This one, in many respects, was all about the big mistake, the big decision that backfired for Jorge Martin. We'll start, though, with the winner, Marc Marquez, back-to-back MotoGP victories. I guess we have to separate his win into two parts, really. There was the part in the sort of mixed damp conditions at the start, and then the part when it dried up. Let's start with those mixed conditions early on, where Marc Marquez, as we've often seen in the past, just excelled, didn't he?
He really did. He pounced, you know, and made up everything that he'd lost from that crash in Q2, and made the position back, you know, and more, got in front. He just was more confident in the conditions, you know. There was a few riders doing it, but he got to the front. And the big thing for me was his pace after he did that. And I was looking at the ground, looking at the concrete that the canopies are built on, and you could see really clearly just evaporating so fast. And within a couple of laps, it was all gone, the water, and I was like, right, what's going to happen? And Marc's pace after that it dried out was the thing that impressed me, and I think it'll be what makes Marc so happy about this win. I think it's going to be a really valuable one. It's, I think, his best ride since getting on the Ducati, and I think it's going to put fear into the opposition when we come back here, because to me that speed after, once it dried out, was good enough to match anyone, and he knows it. If he qualifies all right, he's going to be fighting for the win again at the second race here.
It started raining around 45 minutes before the race began. It was on and off before the race, but there was a little spurt, a little shower around about lap 3, lap 4 of the race, which ultimately led to the defining moment of the race. Certainly if you're Jorge Martin. Much easier, of course, to talk about the decision in hindsight, knowing how the race played out. But I guess as the World Championship leader, with your nearest championship rival immediately ahead of you, how bold was it from Jorge Martin to take that call and dive into the pits?
I was literally sitting on that chair, watching the screen on the pit wall, trying to watch him and ride with him, wondering what he's thinking. And he looked like he thought it was a risk to do another lap, like risky, gonna crash, and so decided to head in before that happened, and not knowing it was going to dry out immediately.
Well, Marc Marquez stayed out. He stayed on the slicks. He made up the ground to Pecco Bagnaia and then controlled the race once he passed him. Let's get the thoughts of the San Marino Grand Prix winner with Matt.
Yeah, he's done it a few times in Misano previously in his Grand Prix career, but I think of all of his 10 previous podiums here, that was probably the most stressful, the hardest one for you, Marc. Congratulations, 1,043 days before Aragon last weekend, before you've won, and now you've won twice in the space of 7 days, but you had to really work hard for that one.
Yeah, this one totally unexpected, and especially because starting on 9th place, I mean, we thought that drops was impossible to fight with the top guys. But yeah, we knew that our second part of the race was super strong, and in fact, for me, the most important thing, okay, one point is lead the race, but the other point is open a gap to the world champion and to Pecco, that is super fast here. And I was able to ride in a very good way, very fast, and yeah, defend in the first part of that second part of the race, and then attack on the second part, on the last laps, and yeah, super happy. And but today, I want to say thanks to Fausto, because I think he dropped some water from the sky, and yeah, that victory is for all Gresini family.
Amazing words, Marc. We know you've got so many strong points, but one of your strongest points in your career has been able to judge perfectly the time to come in flag to flags or to stay out. It was not an easy decision today. You saw Jorge Martin come into pit lane. So did you think about it, or were you thinking, nowhere near enough rain, and now is my chance, nothing to lose, let's go for it?
If I think to go in on the box?
Yes.
No.
No. I didn't think you did.
No. I mean, of course, in one point, if was one more lap raining like this, then I say, okay, maybe time to go in. But especially when I see that nobody go in and only one rider, you need to stay out. And this is what I did. And yeah, I control in a good way. But then on the next lap is when I attack. I give everything. And yeah, I saw that some riders crashed because it was super wet on turn 1 too. But we managed well.
Mark, this has been coming your toes in Austria. You felt great on the bike. The speed was clearly there. We saw that in Aragon last weekend. You backed it up this weekend in Misano. 53 points now is the gap in the championship. With how strong you look right now, you're feeling on the bike. This championship is still on, isn't it?
You never know. I mean, especially when you out of Europe in Asia, there you know how are the conditions sometimes. But the thing is that I continue with my mentality. If we want to fight for the championship, we cannot start 9th on the grid. We cannot do the mistakes I did in qualifying practice. We need to keep going, keep improving, and this is what I will try to do in 2 weeks here.
And just finally, Mark, of course, this is the home race of the Gresini team.
Yes.
They gave you this opportunity in 2024. You've got the special Fausto tribute livery. We saw his son, Luca, on the podium
Yes.
with you. I mean, what a special moment for you and the team here today.
Yeah, it's the best way to say thanks to Gresini family, especially Nadia, Carlo, Michele, all the staff, and yeah, you know, I believe and I hope that they will enjoy this victory a lot, and especially I want to dedicate to the team.
Awesome ride again, Mark.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Back-to-back wins for the first time in 3 years. Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks to Matt asking the questions. Marc Marquez, your San Marino Grand Prix winner. Very straight answer to a straight question there. Jorge Martin dived into the pits very early to make a bike swap. Marc Marquez, very clear. There was no thought in my mind of coming in.
Not for at least another lap. I suspect he didn't have a second bike, which might have made the decision easier, but very difficult later if it got really wet, because he lost that bike in warm-up.
When he went out on wet tyres, didn't he, to try and scrub some in for this potential scenario?
It stopped, and it was in the garage, not being warmed up, with like a banner around it, when everyone else's bikes were out warming up. Oh, I suspect it. Broken engine or something major, or wasn't running anyway, and he didn't have another bike. He had mechanics there with toolboxes ready to change wheels. That's what I believe anyway from watching. But either way, if we don't get to talk about Marc at all again, he put on a masterclass today. Unbelievable good. He's in the fight for the championship.
Yeah, he's only 53 points behind now. And Bastianini will feel he's maybe not out of the conversation either. He finished in third today, 6th podium in the row here now for Bastianini in Grand Prix. Let's get his thoughts with Matt.
And now you certainly do love racing in front of your home crowd. That's now 6 consecutive podiums here in Misano. That one, though, was one of the hardest, tricky to judge the conditions with the rain falling. And I think you've been feeling a little bit sick today as well. So to come out of all of it with a podium, you must be very, very happy.
Yes, I'm happy for the podium because this morning my field was not well, well, I'm start without thinking about this. No, you have to be concentrated, and well, also the race has been a bit complicated because after a few laps, it started to rain a bit, and well, I tried to close the gap from Pecco because I bring some distance from me. And at the end, I was really close, but after it's arrived also the group from behind. No? It's arrived Brad, it's arrived Jack during that situation. And I think, okay, now it will be complicated to win, because also I was with the soft on the rear. And at the start was good, but at the end, I suffered a bit.
Crazy race in there, certainly a crazy start. You're the kind of local expert. You should know what's going on with the weather in this part of the world. I mean, obviously, it was the rain spots are falling around sort of lap 2, lap 3. You were behind Jorge Martin and decided to come in to the pits. What was your thinking at that stage? Did you think it's okay to, well, obviously you thought it was okay to stay out, but were you tempted to come into the pit lanes and change bikes?
Yeah, I think to remain inside because when it starts to rain and when rain a lot, the track smell a bit and of water. And today no, also was cloudy, but not too much. And I think okay, will be on a light rain, and I prefer to continue, and at the end was the correct choice.
And do you think, I mean, obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing. You just said you had the soft tyre, which worked very, very well in the first half of the race. Had you got the medium, do you think you might have been that little bit closer to Marc and Pecco?
I don't know, because on Friday my feeling with the medium was not special. Also on the edge, I have lose many times the rear during the FP1 and also the FP2. And tomorrow, if will be good the weather, we have to try again that solution, because we have other race here, and I want to be prepared because the long race will be with the medium. I think. I was going
to say, you know this track so very, very well. You got so much support. You had a massive fan club in turn 3. We could see all the noise they were making, all the smoke they were creating as well. You must be looking forward to coming back in 2 weeks now and maybe getting a little bit further up, maybe a victory here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, has been very good to see my fan club here, and with all my friends, with this was cloudy also of pink. was very, very nice, and it's great to have the support from us also in the next one, and to repeat the race here.
Great job, Bagnaia. Congratulations, despite your physical problems. Very well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Podium in the last 4 for Bagnaia Bastianini, and as we were discussing off air, as he mentioned there, clearly using all of his senses there when the decision was being made whether to come in or stay out. Bagnaia Bastianini, in the end, we know he's so good around here. What will his feeling ultimately be? Because the conditions at the start of the race enabled him, like Marc, to cancel out his poor grid position and get into the battle for the lead. But ultimately, once it dried out, he couldn't stay there.
Yeah, and I think we saw that. I know he was considering the soft tyre anyway, but all of the riders that chose that soft tyre, they did struggle at the end of the race. And you could see the only ones still doing the good pace were on the medium, you know, and you could see that with Binder against the 2 riders, Bezzecchi and
Marquez and Bagnaia, by the way, did switch moments before the race from the soft to the medium rear.
Yeah, I think it was obvious that at the end of the race, the medium was the choice, and I think he suffered a little bit with it. I think he won't be completely happy. I think you could feel that in his Parc Ferme interview. He wants more, and I hope he can do it at the next one, you know, move it up a step or so.
Yeah, he's got a real opportunity for more. We're back here in a couple of weeks for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, and he's got quite the podium streak, as mentioned, now here at this circuit. Let's talk about Pecco Bagnaia then, who doesn't take the World Championship lead across today. That wouldn't have happened even if he won the race, but he does take a big bite out of Jorge Martin's championship advantage. Martin only scored 1 point today for 15th place. Bagnaia 20 points for second. First of all, the conditions early in the race, because Bagnaia was the leader of the race and of course had a huge queue of riders right up behind him. Just explain why it's particularly difficult for the leader in that scenario to try and judge how hard to push.
You mean when it starts raining? Well, you're dead right. Because if he's getting away with it and staying upright, you know you can go at his speed, you know, as long as you're not doing anything, what's the word, violent, you know, or aggressive moves. And it is the scariest to lead in those conditions. But I think you got to wait to a perfect start. And then the people, I think, either with less to lose or more skill, talent, whatever, however you put it, a better feel, they just came storming forward, didn't they?
Jack Miller was another one.
Yes, I mean, Jack is famous for that as well. There was all 3 of them. Marc Marquez, Jack Miller, and the other one,
Brad Binder was up there
Brad
as well.
Binder, of course. And those 3 just leapt forward, so good at feeling those conditions. I think it's a natural thing that they've got. And but yeah, Pecco with a lot to lose in his mind as well. You imagine throwing it down the road and losing that fight in the championship by a big gap. So, yeah.
In the end, he took 20 points away from it. He's now just 7 behind Jorge Martin in the race for the championship. Second place today, Pecco Bagnaia is with Matt.
Pecco, 2 second places here in your home Grand Prix Misano. It was always going to be a tough weekend after what happened in Aragon last weekend. And that was a very tough race mentally and physically for you. Mentally, of course, with the rain falling. Do you pull into pits and change bikes? Do you stay out there? You obviously decided to stay out there physically as well, suffering from the crash last weekend. So when all's said and done, you have to be happy with those 2 second places.
Yeah, for what happened, yes, because Jorge didn't take points or 1 point, so
took a point, yeah.
just 1 point. So surely for the championship it's better like this, but I wanted to try to win the race. But as soon without the rain, I had a good probability to win because my pace was fantastic and Jorge behind was difficult for sure, surely to overtake me like it was for me yesterday. But as soon as it started to rain, I saw him entering the box, and in my mind changed everything. I said, okay, I don't have to crash because he will take it 0 point. And then Marc arrived because he was the bravest one, surely in terms of pushing with the rain. And as soon as he overtook me, I tried to overtook him back, but I didn't have the chance. And when I decided to finish second, 4 or 5 laps to go, I lost a bit the concentration on being super fast on track, and I started to think more on the pain, and it was a disaster because it was like in a moment all the painkiller effect finished. So it was like this morning that I was riding without, and it was a disaster. But the luck is that in 2 weeks I have another chance, and I will be 100% sure that I will be 100% fit. So we try again.
You'll try again in 2 weeks. Pecco Bagnaia just told us, as you have a lot of local knowledge about this part of the world, Bagnaia said he didn't really think about coming in because when it rains really hard here in Misano, you get a special smell almost that comes from the surface. Yeah. Is that the same that you got as well? I guess that's why you were like, I'm not coming in.
The one that we had Thursday. Thursday was raining here in the paddock, and the smell was heavy, no? So it's something that I know well, and was not smelling like this. I was quite scared because I saw Morbidelli crash, and when he crashed, I slowed down more, and I saw that the guys behind were arriving, but I didn't want to take any risk, and even more when Jorge entered in the pit.
And obviously in terms of the championship, very important. You're only 6 points behind now. But Marc Marquez has got some momentum. He's looking super strong at the moment. He's only 53 points behind. I mean, do you have to start looking at Marc as a possible threat for the championship?
You never know. Look at my situation. I was 26 points behind yesterday, and I'm 7 now. So everything can change quickly, and it's the same for Marc, it's the same for Enea. Marc, we know the potential, and it looks that he found again what he was having in the first part of the championship. So never put out Marc from the title contenders, never put out Enea from the title contenders, and nothing. We will try to do always what we did today.
And just finally, of course, we do come back here in Emilia-Romagna in 2 weeks' time. You'll hopefully be closer to full fitness, if not fully fit. Looking forward to revenge and winning again once again in front of your home crowd?
Yeah, because it's 2 seasons in a row, 2 races in a row that I'm not winning here. So I want it, the fans needing it, and I want to give a good reward to them because it's fantastic what they do, and every time I'm in the starting grid and the speakers say my name and all the circuit screaming makes me very emotional. So
yeah, it makes you emotional. Yeah.
So I want to give to them something bigger than a second place.
Well, we'll find out if you can do that in 2 weeks' time. Great job this weekend, Pecco. Thank you.
Grazie.
Yeah, 2 years in a row that Pecco Bagnaia has stood on the podium here at Misano and watched someone else lift the winner's trophy, although on both of those occasions Pecco Bagnaia was short of 100% fitness. Confirmation there from Pecco that he was well aware from the time that Jorge Martin had come in and switched bikes, and clearly, as he points out there, that changed his mentality and his approach on the race from that point on. He was going to try and win the race, but he wasn't going to risk everything for it.
Yeah, I agree, and he had a good chance to win, every chance to fight for it. I overall don't think Pecco was shining like I expected. You know, he was going to fight for the win. I mean, what more do you want? But, for example, the amount that the lap record in qualifying got broken by, we've been everywhere, and I'm like, we're beating it by so much, and it was only a fraction here. And I was like, why? And then, you know, is it grip levels? Then he didn't perform like he wanted, or I think people expected yesterday. And then today, I think the Pecco that we've seen in the past that is really confident for whatever reason will fight back, or at least, and there's many reasons, but let's see if he turns up like, you know, I was expecting this weekend next race. But if he doesn't, then I think everyone's in trouble. Did you see the look on Mark's face when Matt Bird asked him, are you in the fight for the championship? He said, I can't afford to make mistakes, you know, if we're going to be... The intent on Mark's face and the level of rider he is, I would be worried if I was the opposition, really.
Yeah, he's 53 points now off the World Championship lead himself, so you can't really rule him out with 37 up for grabs on any given race weekend. Let's talk about the riders just off the podium then, although in terms of time, they were quite a long way back from the top three. Fourth place today for Brad Binder. You could argue in some respects KTM's best bet today disappeared when Pedro Costa first lost a winglet on the back of Frankie Morbidelli and then crashed out. He kind of changed bikes because he had no option but to switch to a bike that had a full complement of wings on it. But KTM certainly maximised those tricky conditions at the start of the race, and Brad Binder rewarded with a fourth place.
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out, you did right, to those three behind the podium riders, which are, excuse me, Brad Binder, Marco Bezzecchi and Alex Marquez. Those three deserve a shout out. Great effort, tricky conditions, and I think a couple of them, the second two of those had the soft rear, I think suffered at the end. But shame for Pedro. He was riding the wheels off that gas, and such a shame. Well, the loss of wing, one, it might have hindered, but running off track, I guess, picked up sand and dust. It doesn't get cleaned out there, you know, it's nicely painted, but wind and puts dust and sand on there. You feel it when you walk around, and you see it when the tyres come back on, like they've changed colour, you know. And I believe that was the thing that made him crash, and I really think he was in for a good fight today. Pedro has got his mojo back like the beginning of the season. Brad obviously got that confidence a bit better with the front that he was not happy with yesterday. He said it was a nightmare trying to stay on the bike. I think he was better today. We'll hear in his debrief. Yeah, but overall, KTM were the best of the rest. They don't want to be there, but at least they weren't as far as it has been.
Yeah, nightmare weekend for Aprilia. The less said about them, I guess, the better. They lose second place in the Constructors' Championship this weekend. KTM back ahead of them. Marco Bezzecchi, as you mentioned, in fifth. Tricky first laps in both the race and the sprint for Bezzecchi. He dropped down the order from that front row start. Not necessarily sure all of his problems that he's had this season have gone away, but just good to see him back up the front.
Couldn't say it better. This was an important one because it's his home race, and he came in here hoping that it would, I spoke to his team manager, that they would get some confidence, and I believe he has made a step. And, you know, he was in with the fight, at least today, blew it yesterday in the sprint, but he was in the fight, and when your confidence is down, seeing the fast lads just up in front of you, he's got to be happy that it's building, and let's see if he can build again the next one. I think he's still a long way off that stunning Marco Bezzecchi from last year, but he's getting closer. So let's hope by the end of the next one that he's closer again.
Sixth place, as mentioned, for Alex Marquez today. We've given him a shout out. It was a good weekend for Alex. He, like Mark, started on the third row of the grid, but came through to finish inside the top six. Just behind him, though, was Fabio Quartararo. And Marc Marquez, of course, won the race, was outstanding. Pecco Bagnaia, a pair of second places. But you could make a case that nobody out there on track this weekend rode as well as Fabio Quartararo. Got himself into Q2 on the Friday, qualified inside the top 10, points in the sprint, and matched his best Sunday race result of the season.
Was it seventh? Something like that. Unreal. Like, he rode, again, I'd say, the wheels off that Yamaha all weekend. He said FP1 was the only time he had an advantage, meaning from the testing, and after that he was already on the limit and people were flying, so he's been riding like this the whole weekend since FP1, and you know, because he's so up to speed at this track. But it feels like they've made a little step. You know, he decided to race and qualify, etc., on the new chassis, and they've got the new aero on. It's only baby steps, as you said it in practice, but at least it steps forward, and at least Fabio hasn't given up. You know, where it's hard to be banging your head against the wall weekend after weekend, knowing you haven't got a shot at the podium, just hoping, you know, to get some points, do the best job you can, and he is doing the best job he can.
He said after qualifying and after the sprint yesterday, didn't he, that it was almost soul-destroying for Fabio to be riding behind riders who are making mistakes but still pulling away from him. Fabio Quartararo managing to come across the line in 7th place. He very nearly got Alex Marquez actually on the line. There was just a 10th of a second between them. Honda, of course, had a miserable weekend, not altogether down to the motorcycle. Neither Repsol Honda rider started the race today. We already knew that Joan Mir was going to be absent today through illness. Luca Marini joined him on the sickbed at the start of the day. He had a really bad fever, so he missed the race. Honda in general will be just looking at those skies tomorrow, looking at the forecast and saying, please give us a dry Monday, because they've got a lot to test tomorrow. Yeah,
and some healthy riders, you know, to test the parts, because apparently we've been told from a couple of weeks ago by Alberto that they've got new almost everything, you know, so I look forward to see it tomorrow. Shout out, while we're talking about Honda, to Johann Zarco's efforts all weekend. And last night in his debrief after the sprint, he did seem down. You know, he was kind of going, this is hard, you know, knowing I haven't got the level to fight, you know. No matter how he handles the turns, they always lose on the drive acceleration, spinning. But again, like Fabio, he doesn't give up, which is fantastic. Hats off to Johann Zarco.
And finally, Jorge Martin, then the World Championship leader, 15th in the end today. He was a lap behind. He had to really hang on in the end to hold off Maverick Vinales for that final point. He leads by 7 now over Pecco Bagnaia. Is it in some ways easier for Jorge Martin to get over a result like today, in a day like today? Because it wasn't a case of him being too slow. It was very easy to identify where the points disappeared for him today. Yes,
but I think to lose 20 points when you have an advantage, a buffer, you've lost that ability to make a mistake or have a bad result, and it'd feel like, I think, like your heart's sinking, you know, just punch in the stomach, you know, like when you go away and think about it tonight, he'll be very disappointed. I can't see any other way, especially when he had the pace that he did. He was throwing he made his way past, that pass there, past his teammate, and it's not easy to pass at this level here, and no mistakes. That one was almost a huge mistake. He was lining up a pass. He wanted to win, you know, today. And yeah, to have the speed to believe you can do that, like you said, is the most important thing. Fantastic. But to lose 20 points doing this, heading in, is gutting for the team and him.
It will certainly take a day or two to get over for Jorge Martin, although he will be back on track tomorrow, weather permitting, for the official test here at Misano, which we will have full extensive coverage of. If you're watching us on MotoGP.com, we'll have updates throughout the day. We'll have reports and reaction at the end of the day. Simon will be joining Jack Gorst as well midway through the day on our social media platforms to bring you an update on what is going on, so you won't miss a thing. Live timing, everything available for you over the course of tomorrow's Misano test. We will then be back here in a couple of weeks for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, our penultimate European round of the season and the start of a triple header which takes us all the way off to Asia, to Indonesia and Japan, and the crucial rounds which will see this World Championship decided over the next couple of months. My thanks to Simon for joining me once again this weekend. Make sure you tune in tomorrow to hear from him and Jack Gorst as we bring you all the updates on the Misano test, and we'll be back here in a couple of weeks for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. Just 7 points between the top two in the title chase. And is Marc Marquez still a factor? We'll see you in a couple of weeks.